apprehensive that if there is some God, let him also be satisfied and him not trouble me. At least मुझे माफ करो. It was like that. कि आप भी satisfied हो जाए. I'm anyway spending so much for the furniture in the office and the decor in the office and so much for the business. Might as well do some puja, tantra, mantra, whatever is required and just keep God out of this. But also it's fear of the unknown. अभी इतने लोग बोल रहे हैं तो होगा कुछ. And also S stands for society pressure. It's very bold of people to, write with stand that, I am atheistic. When people say that I'm a God-fearing person, then they're often respected. I remember when my cousin, they were looking for a girl, looking for a boy for my cousin. And apparently one particular rishta, as they call it, a proposal came and that boy said that, I don't believe in God. And my uncle was like, I'm not sending my girl there. It's very sure because that whole belief structure is so much in the society that if someone says that I'm a self-professed atheist, then that person is often looked down upon. So maybe for that society pressure, a lot of time people say that, hoga, okay, fine, there is someone. Or sometimes even for morality. A lot of people give this philosophy that just for some morality, for the society to function normally, someone has some fear to do something wrong, so upar koi baitha hai. That fear element is required in a society. That's why people talk about some God, but it's scientifically not so feasible. Yeah, this is often a philosophy people speak. And as our first point was traditions. Traditionally, we've been believing that yes, that is some God.
And the slide is not there in the part of this.
It's not there. There is some pictures like. When we see a holy person like with a tilak and saffron, we assume that, he's a man of God. Or we expect certain things or certain behavior out of people who dress like that. But the fact is, nowhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that a saintly person should wear saffron or should wear, it's all about internal things, which apparently is not taught in our traditions. Okay? And like this person, when we go for an interview, we wear tilak, we wear, like that person who did his office puja. It's all this. We've not mentioned that acronym there, but the pictures are there. So DUST are the reasons why we believe in God. Out of some desires that need to be fulfilled, fear of the unknown, and society pressure and traditions. Can I go on to the next part of the class? Now the question is, in spite of our upbringing, in spite of these things, there are still people who do not believe in God. And their reasons are also all boiled. If you boil down all the reasons, then there are 3 reasons. I'm expecting one more. Just give 12 seconds. The first argument that they give for God not existing is proof. Do you agree? There's no proof. At least for these scientists and more scientific background people, for them faith is not a very calculative word.
Even the kids nowadays, they want proof.
They want proof. That's why it's called the Y generation. Q bolo, Q, Q. Why should I do it? Right? You believe in God because of these reasons. Why people don't believe in God is because of these reasons.
What kind of proof are they looking at?
Something tangible. Something which the senses can experience.
They expect miracles
Like
as well.
miracles, faith.
Yeah, they say to some people who don't believe, if you tell them, like, okay, so let it happen right now. It should happen right now.
Exactly. Like there was a scientist in Sri Lanka. He said that it's no big deal. If you all are saying that God exists, it's like I'll give you an example of what's his name, Copernicus, who actually showed that this Earth is. Earlier till the 15th century, everyone would believe that the Earth is flat. Yeah, but actually it's a globe. And he used the lunar eclipse, which was a proper aim. There was a theory, there was a conclusion, there was apparatus used. So that's like a proper experiment that he conducted. Now that's scientific. He had proofs to show that the Earth is round. It's spherical, it's not flat. And how from the horizon the ships, they just, because when it's a flat ground, people just appear. But here, any objects, when they appear out of the sea, it's like literally they come out of the waves. So which shows that the earth is a globe. It's not, again, flat. It's not that it's coming from a certain distance. They have to appear tiny and then up. But then here, it's appearing out of a horizon. So horizon again was a second proof that the earth is a globe. So that's what they mean. Proof of existence of God. Yeah. The second thing why they say is, can you show me God? Or the popular belief that seeing is believing. This is the same thing. I'm just writing two different things. Can you show me God? As she said, and Srishti, na? You said that, can you show me God? है तो बुलाओ अभी. Bell boy. जैसे कैसे नौकर आ जाता है फट से. बुलाओ भगवान को भी बुलाओ. How can God exist and allow so much suffering and sin? Like in the last class we concluded that we are His children. We are connected to Him eternally, and because of the lost connection, if there is a God and He is all-knowing, or whatever definitions they give for God right now, He will not, will you let your child suffer? You would like to help out or reach out. Why is God not reaching out to us? Why is He allowing this suffering and sin? If God is really there, then evil or suffering should not exist. These are quite substantial things to say. When someone comes up with these things, even people with a little faith or not with a lot of scientific background can get shaken up with their existing tiny faith.
Yeah, many people lose faith once somebody young dies.
Exactly. Out of suffering, people lose faith in God. That we prayed so much, and in fact, there was a famous person called Charles Darwin. He was a devout Catholic. After his son died, that's the point of time he actually started writing his Darwin's theory. Now we'll come to that later on. But these three things are pretty substantial stands why people take in non-believing in God. So what we're going to do is substantially take each of these arguments. Number one, no proof of existence of God. There is proof in the Bhagavad Gita that God does exist. Number two, can you show me God? Yes, you can see God. Yeah. Number three, how can God exist and allow so much suffering? This third point will be solved in day 5. Yeah, because we need to understand certain concepts before we go to this particular answer. The karma theory, if you get a little bit, that comes in day 5 when we meet the 5th Wednesday. Today is 2nd. So these two we're going to do today. Argument number 1, no proof of existence of God. Our answer to it's number 1 is that can you prove, if you can just inform the scientists that you ask us proof for existence of God, do they have any scientific proof that God doesn't exist? Is there? No, really.
Yeah, I think it's a good.
It's a good.
It's a good argument.
It's a good way to shut them up, at least for now. Yeah. Do they really have any proof that God doesn't exist? Forget about proving that He does exist. Right now, if you're so heavy and bent upon saying that He doesn't exist, what proof is there? I'm going to the next slide because this is just what I'll just repeat. Proof of existence of God. This is the first thing that we're trying to prove. We'll give, not only prove, but we'll give you a definition of God, of how to exactly pinpoint, okay, this person is God because he fits into that definition that we have. How to see God is the second thing that we'll be negating. How to acquire knowledge about God is the last part of the class. There is proof, definitely. And what is that proof? Creator, the acronym for it is Sea Lord. Call it as Sea Lord. It looks like Lord, but Sea Lord. C is the creator. L stands for lawmaker. OR, it's together, stands for order and design. D is for demands and urges or design. Yeah. So just like we have an aim is to prove that God exists. Now they cannot prove to us that God doesn't exist. So let us take the first step and prove that God exists. If the aim today of this scientific experiment we're starting today in JOSD day 2, the aim is to prove that God exists. What is the theory? The theory is C, Lord. C is creator. Now what does creator mean? Can we name the inventors of quite quick general knowledge class we had? Who invented? Yeah. Very good. Engine? Diesel engine? स्कूल में किया था जेम्स वॉट close. Telescope? Galileo. That's right. Bulb? This guy is famous. Watson? James Watt. That was James Watt. This is the bulb in 1,000 experiments he did for Thomas Edison. That's okay, that's not the point. The point is that imagine if you're walking on a beach, you're walking on a shore, and you find a very beautiful Rolex watch. Yeah? I wish I know. This Chowpatty beach, and you find such a watch. If someone tells you that this watch, it's just some chemical reaction between the salty water and the gravels and the sand, and it's come out. This watch has come out. Would you believe that person? Give him the address of a mental asylum. Right? Isaac Newton had such a friend. Isaac Newton had such an atheistic friend who did not believe that there is God. He said that it's just chemical reaction, everything has come up by itself. So Isaac Newton thought that I'm going to teach this person a lesson. So he called him, this friend of his, the colleague of him, 1 week later for lunch in his house. And that entire 1 week, he really worked hard to create a beautiful model, just like a tiny model that they have, model of the globe sometimes they have in the laboratories. He made a tiny model of the entire solar system, with the sun in its orbit and the moons and the earth, all the 7 planetary systems all lined up beautifully. And then there was a lever down which you could rotate, and then this entire thing would start functioning just as the original solar system functions. It's beautiful. And he made this, it took him 1 week, and exactly when the colleague was supposed to come, that model was ready. And when he rang the doorbell, Isaac Newton opened the door, called him in, and he showed him that beautiful model. And he said, oh wow, this is so amazing. And then, quietly he moved the lever from front, and then it starts, orbiting and revolving, everything was so beautiful. And this person was like amazed. He's like, wow, who made this? Who is the expert artisan? Isaac Newton told him, there's no artisan. किसी ने नहीं बनाया. Yeah, that was another story. He told him that, then the friend was like, okay fine, maybe you don't want to tell me who is the person. At least tell me how is it made. He said, no, just suddenly yesterday night I bumped into my cupboard which was full of hardware, nut bolts and some spherical objects. So they just exploded out of the cupboard and this thing is made today and it's so beautiful. I know, it's very nice. Artisan to koi nahi. He said, exactly. You want me to believe that? Then how can I believe such a stupid theory? And Isaac Newton said, exactly as you can believe that the original solar system has come through a big bang or what do you call it? Some chemical reaction. Such a beautiful organized structure where the planets never bump into each other. They have their perfect orbits. Everything is running so beautifully. You can't believe that this tiny model has come on its own, but you can believe that this entire thing has come without any intelligence, without any infrastructure, without any design or without any creator, without any inventor. Is there any scientific proof that anything has come by itself? So suddenly out of a cupboard or suddenly out of nowhere. No, there is nothing in this world which exists without a creator. None of these inventions. Everyone had a person behind it. Nothing can come automatically. A lot of times this word now automatically is used quite Automatic means, does automatic, if you have an automatic washing machine in the house, does it mean there is no creator of the washing machine? I got it from a shop. The shop belongs to the manufacturer. Correct? Automated could be that a person just needs to initially maybe pull the plug or switch on, and then now it doesn't require, interference or supervision all the time. That could mean. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have a creator. Does it? So our first proof is creation implies a creator. This C is the first proof of God. There is nothing in this world which has not come without a creator. Right? Is that okay? Our first proof, creation implies a creator. Yeah? For those who follow atheistic religion, their God is Big Bang. They just simply replace God with a Big Bang. Yeah? So our question to them is that, have you ever heard that with a bang something has come up or something has been destroyed? With bangs? Imagine, the terrorists planted a bomb, and from the bomb a new White House has come. Quite absurd. Can you imagine, we studied all this in school, we wrote papers about this, and now I'm standing here saying that. According to the Big Bang theory, everything began from a point. A point is most important. That point was of infinite temperature, infinite density, infinitesimal size, a point that is physically unrealizable, mathematically indescribable, beyond all conceptions of space and time. So space and time existed before this point exploded. So who created space and time? There's no answer. Huh? The Encyclopedia Britannica, it says that it should be emphasized that no theory of origin of solar system has yet won general acceptance. All involve highly improbable assumptions. And we're studying it as facts. It's quite weird. Is it, so for the atheists, their God is that point. And for us, it is a person, it's God, it's some supernatural, some person who's there behind, who has supernatural intelligence to do it. If you're playing a video game, can you find the player of the video game in the video game? The player or the person who's made it? No, you have to come out of it. Yeah? What these scientists are trying to do is they're trying to locate God in this particular universe, which has been created by the Creator. It's quite common sense that the Creator has to be out of this creation. Just like the author of the book is out of the book. He's not mentioned anything in the book about him. Has he? No. It has to be out. So that is the false, or that's the fault of the scientists that they're trying to see. Yeah? There is so much confusion about the Creator and creation because they're looking for the Creator inside the creation. Right? So just like in a classroom, as soon as the teacher comes in, there is spin drop sign, there's some laws being followed. The minute she's out, or he's out, this chaos. Again, the students start mumbling with each other. Yeah. So creation means that there is a person who's organizing everything, who's looking everything, who's created everything. Such beautiful things. When there's a big bang or there is something, there's only chaos. There's a proper structure of society functioning since time immemorial. Such beautiful roses coming perfect red, perfect yellow. That's a perfect order. Yeah? And also there are laws being followed. What laws? Are there laws for driving a car?
Laws of gravity.
Yeah, laws of gravity are there. There's laws for driving car, laws for traveling in trains and airplanes. Yeah. Who's done those laws? The laws of traffic, the laws of travel. Humans or the government. The government has made these laws. Like in Singapore, if you spit, there are CCTVs which will catch you on camera. Maybe immediately they're not going to catch you, but they'll hunt you down for the fine. When there are laws, there is also a law enforcer. This C stands for creation, this S stands for a lawmaker and a law enforcer. That means when laws are made, who's going to check that they're being followed or not? There has to be someone being also, some system at least to see that the laws are being followed. Yeah, we have natural laws where the sun sets at time. There's there is Tropic of Capricorn, there's Tropic of Cancer, where Uttarayan and Dakshinayan that we call in Sanskrit. Right? Everything is being followed so naturally, so wonderfully. There is nobody monitoring it. There is no one who's made it. Quite absurd. The second proof of God's existence is the laws that are governing our world, including the time element, which is such a heavy enforcer. No, time element, everything fades out. That's an enforcing element which is very heavy in our planet, in our earth, in our universe. So these laws have been made by someone and is being enforced by someone. All planets are floating like swabs of cotton in a perfect control mechanism. Yeah? Without any traffic rules, how would our cars function? Be chaos. Right? Law of physical optics, as she said, law of mechanics, law of gravitation. All these things are functioning properly without a lawmaker, without a law enforcer. Yeah? Precise laws of mathematical accuracy govern this world. There are scientists who have proved that this place has been created at a particular point of time and now it is expanding. So there are some laws governing that. Yeah. So creator, lawmaker and law enforcer is the second proof of existence of God. OR is order and design. Can you imagine? There's such beautiful order and design in this world. Have you ever thought about it? Like instance for this camel.
Giraffe.
Later on there are pictures of camel. This giraffe, he's made perfectly according to his habitat. The taller tree, so he has a long neck. Yeah. And then even, there is, his heart weighs 11 kg, it's 2 feet long. His heart is proportionate to, his heart is proportionate, the weight of his heart is proportionate to his body. There's one weight check valve in his throat, which is here. This is spongy tissue, which is exactly according to its habitat. So much order, so much design, all come through chemical reaction and Big Bang. Takes more faith to believe that, than to believe that there's some intelligent creator. This is a beautiful hummingbird. Have you seen the size of the hummingbird? It's like just this much. It flaps its wings 75 times per second. It's not per minute, it's per second. Yeah. And it has to take its nourishment from the flowers, which is like, its beak is like a straw, immediately. And so that it can hover around till the time it's drinking, it can flap, and it weighs only 3 grams. Order and design. Chemical theory. Camel here camel. He can live without water for 8 days. What's its habitat? A desert. Yeah, can store everything in its hunch. We learned that in school. Transparent eyelids, so that if there is a sandstorm, it can still move on. Can drink 130 liters of water at a time. Has long legs, so that even if there is the sand, it kind of sinks. Yeah, sinks. Can still move on. Chemical reaction. Takes more faith to believe that. The third proof of existence of God or existence of this intelligent creator is the perfect order and design in this world. Water cycles. Isn't that a perfect order and design? Exactly, there are tanks. Imagine if you have to install a tank in your infrastructure, whatever building the building has to weigh a certain ton, and that water tank has to weigh. There's so much of mechanics and calculation. In this rainy season, we have floating tanks in the sky. Each tank containing gallons of water. And how much do they weigh? There can airplanes which can move inside and out of it. And nothing happens. Can you imagine the amount of intelligence it takes to create so much? What does it take to run one house? A lot. Men don't understand that, but whatever. You know, it takes a lot to run the bedrooms that you have, and the order and the servants and this and that and the supplies in the house. To run a universe, no creator, no lawmaker, no order and design, no God. My God. This takes, I mean, really, when I learned this for the first time, I was imagining, my God, where was I living? What was I doing? In which world are we in? Where people can actually take the audacity or the stupidity to even believe that there is no God. The third proof is order and design. And the last proof, order and organization. The last proof is design or demands and urges. There are natural urges that we feel. And the nature has provided for that. There is natural urge of thirst that every living entity in this world feels. And water is available, to satisfy that urge. There's natural feel of hunger that every living entity feels. And there's a natural providence of food. Same way, praying or approaching a superior authority is a natural urge. If you see, even the aborigines, the tribal people, even if there is some, they are uneducated, socially backward or whatever you call them. But if there is some thunderstorm or something very weird happening, immediately they bow down. So that urge is pretty natural because there is a God. And also D stands for two things: demands and urges, and design. Not only organization, not only creation, but that creation is not done in a haphazard manner. It's done in a proper design. So that designer or that architect has to be a supernatural power, has to have supernatural intelligence far beyond than ours. It cannot be just Big Bang, it just cannot be chemical reaction. These two are the most famous theologies for how God doesn't exist. So I'm again and again mentioning only that. Right. The third argument being, how can there be God with so much suffering? Sorry, we were at no proof, so we have four proofs. That is, there is a creation implies a creator, laws imply a lawmaker and law enforcer, OR is order and organization that we can see all around us, D is design, that's perfect design. So this is the proof of God. And how do we see God? Is the next question. How can I see God? Seeing God is, there are two ways in which we can see God. There is one which is by cause and effect. Now people want to see God with these eyes. Our question is, can we see air?
No.
But how do we know it exists? We can feel it. There is some way, there is a particular experience that gives you an experience of air, shows you that air exists. Same way, how do I know that God exists? When I see this creation around me, when I see these laws functioning around me, when I see this order and organization around me, when I see this design around me, by cause and effect. Like today these lights are functioning, I understand that there is electricity. When they stop functioning, I understand that there is no electricity. By cause and effect. When I see these cause, they are working, when I see the effect, I understand that there has to be a cause behind it. Just like I cannot perceive air with all these five senses, and as we concluded also that Creator has to be outside of the creation, how can we perceive Him here with these five senses? He is just like this puppeteer. Can you see, when you see the puppets moving, when you take your children there, you understand that there is a person behind who is moving all this. When you see the effect of the puppets dancing, you understand the cause behind the curtains. Right? So theory of cause and effect makes us understand that there is a creator, there is God behind it. And also there's actually a way of directly seeing God. Like if I directly want to see the President Obama, is there a way to see him?
It's difficult, but there is a way to see him.
There is a way to see him. What is that? Appointment? Photo?
No, I think you have to be very
If I have to see him personally, that's what, if you show them pictures of God, they're not convinced. You have to show him personally. That's what they demand.
adamantly.
You have to make an effort. Or by some extraordinary service. If I perform some extraordinary service, is it possible that Obama would want to see me? Would that get more easier?
Yes.
Rather than going through a longer route of me seeing him? Because God is such a... Now we concluded with these things that He is not an ordinary person, definitely. He is not an ordinary thing that we could see, just so ordinary, or just so, loosely or cheaply. He's an important person, just like a president is an important person. Now that's a president of one state, one tiny country in this entire universe of so many planets. To see him is so difficult, what to speak about God? But there is a way. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there is a way. If you perform extraordinary service, God would want to see you. Just like when I perform something extraordinary, the Prime Minister could see me, or... There is a way. And that's by service. So through cause and effect, I can understand, I can see God's hands, and by service, it's possible to approach Him. Correct? Seeing is believing is done. Suffering is on day 5. As a quick recap, why do we believe in God? Because of dust, D-U-S-T. Because of desires that we have, or fear of the unknown, some society pressure, or through traditions is why we believe in God. Why people don't believe in God? Because of no proof. But there is proof. That is, see Lord. There's a creation. Creation implies a creator, lawmaker, and law enforcer. That's why there are laws. OR is organization and order. D stands for design, or demands and urges that are naturally fulfilled. And point number 2 that they say why they don't believe in God is seeing is believing, or can you show me God? It is possible. Number 1, by theory of cause and effect, we can understand that there is a super intelligence behind. And number 2, it is possible by extraordinary service. We can see God. Third, suffering is in day 5. Right, so now I'll just go a little backward for coming to clear-cut definition of God. So now if I understand, because there are so many people, there's a market out there for God. Say, I am God, and how do I definitely know who is God? Some people will say God is light. Yeah, you have philosophers who say God is just light. Some people say nature is God. There is one particular philosopher called Nietzsche, was there in Germany, in which year? It was around in 19th century, around 1950s. He would say God is dead. He made everything, and now there are laws which are governing, but there is old man, he passed away. He made everything, switched on the button, and now he's gone. God is dead. After he died, the priests of the church wrote on the church, Nietzsche is dead, signed by God. Yeah. God still exists, but the philosopher is dead. Yeah. Some people say you are God. You have the potential, you have to harness a certain energy in you, and you can become God. Some people have a very supernatural, superficial, idea of God. Some people think it's something else. So what's the actual definition of God? I'll try to a little bit rearrange this thing. All the points that I'm writing is included in this. I'm just kind of elaborating it. This is SPEC. I made it SPICE. Okay, spice. Now, if I have to define God, the first word that should come is supreme. Nothing more powerful, nothing, any quality wise, any quantity wise, nothing beyond him or her, whoever the person is. Right? Supreme. He has to be the supreme source, supreme proprietor or owner, supremely independent, controller, and the supreme enjoyer. Taking all the definitions and beliefs of all the world, this is the definition of God. He has to be the supreme source. He has to be the supreme proprietor or the owner. He owns everything. Supremely independent means he shouldn't depend on someone. When you're depending on someone means you're lesser than that person. And if he's the greatest, he has to be supremely independent. Supreme controller and supreme enjoyer.
So what context is study supreme enjoyer?
I'll tell you, I'll elaborate each one. We start with supreme source. Researching that.
I thought you're moving on to
God by definition should be the supreme. Supreme means there is nothing and no one superior to God. Yeah. So now if we come down to this supreme source, I start with this. Means everything should come from Him, from God. Yeah. Like if you see this picture, there's a baby. Yeah. And the baby's father and the father's father, and when you go to a certain point, that you should stop at a certain point where everything began from that particular source. Supreme source. This is what I mean. It should end, the search, my line of search should end there. Everything begins from this source. If a person who says that I am God, he should be the supreme source of everything that exists. With everything, I mean everything. This entire universe is material elements, everything. Okay? Let's solve this problem. Who came first? Chicken or the egg? What would the supreme source say? The chicken? Without an egg? The egg without the chicken?
Egg was a chemical mixture.
Yeah, very good answer. But still, the source has to be the hen. Hen without an egg.
A male hen and a female hen.
Female hen could have been the source. Or what? But where did the hen come from? See, in this problem, the search just doesn't end. But when you have a supreme source, that source has to be the source or has to produce both the chicken with the egg. Both came together. It has to be created, both have to be created simultaneously. Because one cannot exist without the other. But there is a supreme source from whom everything began. So both came together. Not either or.
No, it could be a female and a male hen also.
Yeah, probably. But then the egg is not something that they can produce. You understand what I'm trying to say? Egg is not something that they can produce. Even the Lord has to be source even of even that egg. Or at least the elements which make the egg. With everything, now you understand what I mean to say? That person has to be source of everything. Elements between the man and woman or the man and woman, you get it? Has source of every single thing.
It's like if the hen is important, but where did the egg come from?
That's another question only altogether. Yeah? Supreme proprietor. What is this? Picture is of a mother-in-law and a daughter-in-law. Mother-in-law doesn't look very happy. There was a beggar who went to their house, and while begging, the daughter-in-law opened the door of the house. She was anyway very irritated with life, and she said, "Oh, get out of here," and she slammed the door. The beggar was very disheartened. He came out, and when he was walking on the road, he met the mother-in-law of that same house. Yeah? And she said, "Oh, I saw you coming out of that house. Kya ho gaya?" He said, "No, your daughter-in-law slammed the door on my face." And she said, "Oh, acha? Okay, come on, come with me." And she takes him. She rings the doorbell. The daughter-in-law opens the door again, and she sees the mother-in-law standing with the beggar. The mother-in-law comes inside. She looks at her, looks at the beggar, tells the beggar, "Get out," and she shuts the door again. The beggar was so irritated. He said, "What the hell? This is exactly what she did. What is anything new?" And he rang the doorbell again. And this time the mother-in-law opened the door, and the beggar asked, "What was that? Why was that? How was that?" He's so confused. And she said, well, I'm the owner of this house, so I have the authority to throw you out, not her. So by definition, who is the proprietor?
The mother-in-law.
Before her mother-in-law came in. Yeah? The question is, supreme proprietor has to be a person who is the supreme source. Yeah? He has to own everything since time immemorial. Like Akbar, when he became too proud of whatever he had, Birbal wanted to show him, and so he dressed up like a beggar and he sat in the gardens, dirty, misshapen, and he sat in the gardens of Akbar. And when Akbar came in, he was so harrowed to see a beggar, dirty fellow in his beautiful gardens, and he said, get out of here, this garden belongs to me. So he said, oh really? Birbal was acting like a beggar, and he said that, who are you? So he said, don't you know, I am so and so, so and so, that huge names that often Muslim emperors would have. So he would say, I'm so and so Akbar. So he said, really? Before you, who was here? So he said, the entire name of his father. He said before him, so he gave him again the name of his grandfather. So he was so proud about his lineage, and he was going on giving back to back names. And the Birbal said that, oh, okay, fine, that means the conclusion is this place really doesn't belong to anyone, it's just a dhanshala. So Akbar said, then he got the point, and he said, this has to be Birbal, there can't be anyone else who could talk so much sense, and he got the point. He said, we think that something belongs to us, when it eternally belongs to the source, it belongs to someone else. So if you define someone as God, he has to be owner of that property, of that universe, for time immemorial.
So who was the God? Because the loads of gods floating around and...
Yeah, if someone says, then you have to ask them, does everything belong to you?
No. As in there's so many gods, right?
Right now it is defining.
Okay.
What we're going to pinpoint, it has to be on basis of this definition. Right now I'm giving you this definition is because if I have to find that person, I have to know his attributes.
Right.
His two attributes is source and proprietor. If he doesn't fit in this attribute, then he is not God. You get it? Right now I'm giving you this definition so that we're not cheated. There's a huge cheating market out there. Yeah? Like there was this person who came to our temple hall, and when my spiritual master, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, and he was giving class, when this person out of nowhere, he just stood up and he said, you have to stop all this nonsense that you're talking. He had that audacity, He started screaming in the temple. He said that I am God. All of you all should worship me.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
This is a real thing.
It's a real thing. He said I am God. And then back and forth, they had a lot of argument, all this proof and this and that. Okay, and then finally, after a whole, good 40 minutes discussion, he said, can we take a break? Ho gaya break. Can we take a break? Because I want to answer nature's call. So Maharaj told him, well, if you're God, you have to be the supreme controller. Can you control your nature's call? And that was a catch for him. He said, oh, well, right now I cannot. And he actually couldn't because he wanted to go so badly. And he said, can you please tell me where the washroom is? Or can we just take a pause? Because he couldn't control his own needs. Forget about controlling the entire. So is he God? Can't be. At least for that 2 minutes of his break, he was not God. Because he can control. So that person is there. If that person is God, he has to be even this. He has to be supremely independent. Means he cannot depend on anyone for any requirement. You get it? And he has to be supreme controller. Not only controlling his teeny-meeny needs, but also the entire universe. Because we said lawmaker, then he has to enforce, he has to be also the enforcer. He has to control everything. And also supreme enjoyer. Now how do we know about enjoyer? How is God called the supreme enjoyer? God is called the supreme enjoyer since he is independent in his enjoyment. He has unlimited enjoyment without any trace of miseries. any trace of miseries. And he shares his supreme pleasure and enjoyment with everyone else. Can we do that? Can we share our enjoyment with anyone else? That's just so static in us. Here, when you see this, there's a hierarchy shown, like there's a hotel owner, and then everyone else. All these employees are dependent enjoyers, and the owner is independent. Whatever the owner does, his intelligence and his new tactics and everything, the entire business will depend on him. Is he dependent on anyone, the owner? No, he can sack and, he can call employees like anything, but all the employees are dependent enjoyers. So that God is like that hotel owner. And all of us who are not God are like that dependent enjoyers, dependent hotel employees. The owner is the independent enjoyer. You get the point of enjoyment then? Means it doesn't have to depend on anyone, there's no trace of miseries.
Yeah, but I think the example is not so good, because unless the owner of the hotel has a very good team, the owner cannot enjoy the enjoyment of being an owner. Because if they don't have a good team, if we keep sacking everybody, and suppose I'm saying a restaurant, say has 20 employees, and if all 20 go out,
for momentarily there will be a lot of misery for him. Right now I'm talking about
So what I mean to say, maybe it's not a perfect example to cite the enjoyment.
I'm just giving you an analogy, like kind of example. If the boss, apparently the boss enjoys everything.
Yeah.
All the perks, all the facilities. Yeah. Until the time you cooperate with that boss, you are enjoying it. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that my enjoyment is depending on my boss. But the boss's enjoyment is not ultimately depending on me. He can sack me and hire someone new. I cannot do that. I can't sack my boss and hire someone new to go and find a new job by itself. Yeah? In that context, I'm saying an independent enjoyer, that he doesn't depend on anyone else. Right? So these 5 things are a clear-cut definition of God. So if you meet anyone who says they are God, they have to be supreme source of everything that exists in this world. They have to be a supreme proprietor of everything that exists in this world. They have to be supremely independent. That means they don't depend on anyone. And also their enjoyment doesn't depend on anyone. And they're supreme controller of everything which runs in this material creation, in this universe.
Now we can take a break before.
Yes, before going to bed. I was just going to say that. We did this at birth. We can't even take care of our internal things. To acquire knowledge in this world, there are 3 ways. PAS. That is Pratyaksha Praman or experimental knowledge. The English translation of each of these words is given here. Anuman Praman means some theories, that's trial and error process. And Shabda Praman is hearing from an authority. Generally, there are 3 ways of gaining knowledge about any matter, just any situation. Either we have Pratyaksha. Prati means direct. Aksha means these eyes or vision. Having direct vision. Or, in other words, seeing is believing. When I see that she's a nice person, then I understand that she's a nice person. Right? Does this Pratyaksha Praman actually work, or will I be able to get knowledge through direct sense perception of God? How accurate is this direct sense perception? Can I see? Sometimes when you look into a mirror, things which are, they look opposite. Is the mirror defective?
No.
What is defective? My vision. The nature of our vision, or IICC. There's a problem with this Pratyaksha Praman, or there's a problem with this direct sense perception because of this IICC. Because we have imperfect senses. Because we have a tendency to be illusioned. Because we can commit mistakes, we're not perfect. And also because of cheating propensity. To cover these mistakes, we often cheat. Right? First thing, imperfect senses. these senses, like for direct sense perception or for pratyaksh praman, or if I say seeing is believing, then I need to have perfect eyes, I need to have perfect touch or skin, need to have perfect tongue, and that's also a way to get knowledge about things. Taste, that's also a knowledge. Hearing, my ears have to be perfect. But our own scientific knowledge gives us a proof that our eyes are blind outside the range of 400 to 700 millimicron. Anything smaller or under the scope of 400 millimicron, we need some external help, like a microscope or a magnifying glass. Anything beyond 700 millimicron, we need telescopes or doorbin, binoculars, isn't it? Are these eyes perfect? Can you see the perfect God then with these eyes? Unlikely. Our ears are deaf outside the range of 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Have you heard of dog whistles?
Yes. Yeah.
There's a particular dog whistles that a lot of police officers or sometimes people use, that makes a frequency which is below 20 Hz. So humans cannot hear it, but dogs can. They can hear it. Anything beyond 20 kilohertz, explode. Not be able to take it. Can we hear that perfect God then? Orange tasted after sugar will always taste sour. Orange tasted after lemon will always taste sweet. Water touched with warm hands appear cool, and touched with cold hands appear warm. This is our experience with defective senses. That's our first defect, or that's the first defect to direct sense perception. We have imperfect senses. This I stands for imperfect senses. How can we find that perfect God with imperfect senses? The second thing is tendency to be illusioned. We can fall under illusion. With these imperfect senses, we can't see things the way they are. Can you see this picture? It's a two-dimensional picture. You can see two people sitting here, with a lady coming out of the door. Yeah, playing of guitar. And two people are, old man and an old lady facing each other. And again, if you see properly, there are two people sitting. One is playing a guitar, one is carrying something on his head. We can be illusioned. You see this picture? I'm sure you must have seen this picture before. Like this particular frame is actually not moving. You feel it's moving? Does everyone feel it's moving?
Yes.
Good. Then I don't have defective senses, then I have normal senses. If you try to concentrate on one flower, the others will move. They're not moving. Because we have defective senses. We have a tendency to be illusioned. Check this out now. Looks like a bridge, but actually it's a fleet of ships. Sometimes when you're walking on the road, you feel as if you saw that person. Exactly that person. But when you look again, it's not. That's a tendency to be illusioned. Mirages, yeah. See. Because of imperfect senses, because of tendency to be illusion. And also we have a lot of mistakes. Mistakes made at a big level. The brain was thought of as an organ to cool blood. Imagine it's such an important organ in our body. Pituitary or master glands were considered vestige or useless tissue in the body. The earth was supposed to be flat 15th century back. Is it? No, that was a mistake that people made. Right. And the cheating propensity. When the Darwin's theory was written, much later the scientists, they made a certain discovery in a place called Piltdown. And all those people were caught to be fraudulent. Because they actually defiled the jaws of, what they said. They said that in Piltdown, this entire... Do you know the Darwin's theory? Basically, he said that there are 11 stages of evolution from monkey to man. Just to prove that theory right, they actually defiled the jaws of monkeys and of humans to make these 11 stages apparently seem as true. So to cover a mistake which was done by the theologian, the theology that was written, and then what happened? He cheated. Cheated just to prove that entire wrong theory right. It was a fraud of foil jaws and human skulls. The whole connection was made up. It was not really there. It didn't really exist. Is it still evolving? Evolution means it's a ongoing process. I can still see monkeys and I can still see humans. Although sometimes humans act like monkeys, but it's okay. They're still humans. I don't think my grandparents were monkeys. They were much humans.
So you mean to say it's not true?
They are file jaws. It's not true.
There is no evolution of a man.
So his theory is based on natural selection and survival of the fittest. If you actually read his entire theory, we'll do that in day 5 also. You'll see that his entire theory is covered up with maybe, perhaps. Even he wasn't sure of his entire theory. He did not see what he was writing himself. Imperfect senses, tendency to be illusioned, committing mistakes, we commit mistakes, and cheating propensity. Because of these 4 reasons, because of these 4 defects that every human being has, this direct sense perception could be faulty. This experimental knowledge doesn't really practically work. Yeah? The second theory that we could try is Anuman theory or trial and error. Yes. Just like how Charles Darwin did, his entire theory is covered with these words of maybe, perhaps. That's not a way you would present a fact. If you're presenting a fact or you're presenting not a theory but actually something that happened, it should be covered with words like should or must, not with perhaps or it may have been like that. It's like the story of the 6 blind men who wanted to find out how an elephant looks like. All the 6 of them, all the 6 brothers, they climbed the different parts of the elephant. And one person concluded that the elephant looks like a snake because he was holding the trunk. He said this, no, it looks like a rope because he was holding the tail. And another person was holding the ears. He said, no, it looks like a fan. One person said, no, he looks like a wall because he was holding like, the main trunk, the main body. Somebody said, no, it's like a tree trunk. He was holding the legs of the... Someone who had vision had to catch these 6 people and show him the entire, all the body parts of the elephant and show them that this is what an elephant looks like. We, with our blind senses, think we can make trial and error and get knowledge about God. Does it work? And I don't know how long. Just like this. All the 11 stages. He said age of rock how they actually find out how old a particular jaw is. Do you know how they find out? Yeah. Carbon dating. More than 3 countries don't have the same levels or the same, yardsticks for carbon testing. Every country has a different level. This level was basically, today what they, at least the dinosaurs ka thing that they used is based on the dating of what Harappa and Mohenjo-daro civilizations, which level or which rock strata they were found out. If that belongs to a particular millions of years ago, and if this particular jaw or file or whatever was found so many levels down, then this will be so many millions back. And how did those people come to that date? They don't know that. If you actually ask those scientists, how did Harappa and Mohenjo-daro people, the people who found out that civilization, how did they come to that particular millions of years ago, whatever date? They will not know. He said because it's proved and it's famous, so all our particular theories will be based on their dates. They actually don't know. They have not done any carbon testing. It's just trial and error. Anuman. Guesswork. The best way to gain knowledge is to get it from an authority. If you have a child who wants to study engineering, what will you do? get the most popular books of engineering for him? Or put him in an engineering college where there are experienced, learned engineers teaching him? What would you do? Put him in a college. Everyone goes through the system of authority. But in case of God, नहीं library से उठा लेंगे कोई book. We get to know about God. और experiment कर लेंगे. Scriptures are words of God. There are textbooks which we can actually know about God.
But ultimately, tell me, all these have also been penned down by humans, and most of it is also an assumption theory.
They are an assumption theory?
The Hindus will believe only in Vishnu and Hanuman and Ram and Krishna, whereas the Muslims will believe in some other this thing. So they have written down their scriptures. What I mean to say, ultimately the humans have laid down. So where is that one principle of God? Because everybody believes what they want to believe in, and how
See,
they
when you realize that,
yeah. And then sort of, if you belong to a Muslim family, you are a Muslim. If you belong to a Hindu family, you are a Hindu. It's just that, that few percent who are aggressive would like to change the stream of religion or whatever. But they are made to believe, no? But ultimately, maybe centuries ago, humans have penned down the scriptures. There's no God has come down and penned down the scriptures. So that's also an assumption theory, no? Ultimately,
do you know for sure what is the... now suppose if I buy a manual, the manual has been penned down by someone. What is the manual for?
How to operate.
How to operate. If it does work the way it's written in the manual, is it a correct manual? If the scriptures, apparently if I don't know where it is coming from and I try to operate it in my life, if it does work for me.
So that's again belief, no? What works for
One
you,
second.
you
Are we
believe.
talking about when we did that proof for existence of God, when I showed you creator, lawmaker, was it on certain belief?
No, that is absolutely logical.
Yeah.
But
My
as a
second
form-
point, my first point you got,
Yeah.
did we prove today that God exists? Was that based on certain beliefs of people, or was it proper scientific theory I gave you?
Absolutely logical and
Yeah.
scientific.
My second question is, are we talking about egos or are we talking about God?
No, I'm talking about what is the form of God.
No.
There is where there is an ego.
Your question, how much I understood, was you're talking about the differences of opinions or differences of religion that apparently are
Exactly, so
superficially
what
are
is the
there.
right form of God? I mean, you know what?
Who is right? Are the Muslims right? Are the Hindus right? Again, my question, if you get the point that I'm trying to make, are we talking about egos or are we talking about God? When the Muslims say, I'm right, it's an ego. They're not talking about
Yeah,
God.
absolutely. But what you're saying that the scriptures are the validity is actually ultimately written by humans, no?
If a
And
Muslim
based
book,
on assumptions.
yeah, like if Quran, if I pick up a Quran and I read today, if I follow that Quran the way it is written, not the way people assume it to be or translate it to be, if I actually follow the Quran and it actually works in my life, what is wrong is my question.
No,
Even
the
though I
theory-
come from a birth of Hindu, if I come from a birth of...
No,
And
the
if I tell
theories
you...
Her question is that you say that the manual and the scriptures. What we are saying, the scriptures have been written by men.
My man.
That is her question. Basically.
You know that very idea that scriptures are written by man is
And
actually wrong.
Have they actually experienced Vishnu or
Tulsidas wrote the
Scriptures...
Mahabharata, Ramayana? You are saying Mahabharata, Ramayana scriptures, right?
by God.
But wait. Mahabharata, Ramayana...
have been dictated by God.
Mahabharata and
See, ultimately
Ramayana.
these are assumptions.
What is Mahabharata and Ramayana?
No, I mean, if you are saying a holy scripture is Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, right? These are scriptures. So these are also ultimately written by rishis, no?
It's written by rishis, but it was written, what actually happened was written.
No, but-
Now let's take Quran. Let's take a third,
I hope I'm not
religion.
deviating, but this is
No,
like
no,
one
it's
question
very
in my
relevant.
mind.
It's relevant.
With ages and ages have been.
Do you know who wrote the Quran?
No, I don't know.
Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad wrote the Quran. Now, do you know why do I take Prophet Muhammad as a... Apparently he said that he heard it from God and then he penned it down. Is that much
and
right?
He was the biggest reason for for the partition of India and Pakistan?
No.
Of course, he only जो पूरा cult Muslims का बनाया, he's the one, no? So why should I just think
not there, but not that guy.
No, Prophet Muhammad is 1500 years back.
That was another guy.
That was another guy. Prophet Muhammad is the origin of Islam. That was 1500 years back. Yeah, 1500 years back. Christianity is 1300 years back. Now when we come to this point, let me finish this much, then I'll come back to your point. Yeah? And I'll tell you why I kept here up. Because there are certain concepts which will clear or give you your answer. Number one, scriptures. What is the proof of validity of scriptures? There are three proofs. Or if a textbook has, like if I'm going to an engineering school and they give me a certain textbook of engineering, how do I know it's an engineering textbook? If I actually apply those things and it works in engineering principles, that means it's a correct textbook. Is that right? When I buy a washing machine and I get a manual, how do I know that the manual is proper or not? Because the machine is working according to the instructions given over there. Yeah? Now my question is, I have to get knowledge about God. If I get an experience of God, if I go closer to God, or if I get that happiness that I'm looking for through God, based on the instructions given in the scriptures, is that scripture valid or invalid? Is it valid or invalid? That's why I need these scriptures. These scriptures have to give me knowledge about God. Yes or no? That's why it becomes a scripture. Otherwise it's just any random book. Number one is that it's an instruction manual for our life. The Bhagwate Gita or the Mahabharata or the Ramayana, what is it all about? The way we need to live. Mahabharata is a story of Krishna and his devotees who showed us the way we need to live if we want to find permanent happiness. Ramayana is a story of Ramchandra and his wife Sita and his brothers and his devotees, the way they lived their life, the way they fought the problems that they had in their life, and how they found this permanent happiness. If I follow the same way, if I don't get that same thing that they got, that means this Ramayana is wrong. There are many editions of Ramayana. If I follow that same thing and I get that particular result of what is also being mentioned there, is that right or is that wrong? If I follow any book, keep aside Quran, keep aside Bible, if I follow any book and that thing is giving me a right, book on astrology, it's giving me actually the same result. Is that book working for you or is that book not working? It's working for you. You get it? These scriptures are not just any random things which apparently humans have written. Yes?
Okay, carry on.
Yeah, no, I was wondering. Yeah? So they have to be manuals. The instructions written on the scriptures have to work for me. If they are working universally, then it is a textbook which is going to give me knowledge about God. Yeah? The scriptures are actually manuals. They tell us how to actually behave in this world and how to attain God or knowledge about God. They are the textbooks.
But also, isn't it true that these days whatever we believe in it becomes true for us? I mean, whatever we believe.
So if I believe I'm a monkey, I become a monkey?
I know. That's
Is it?
no.
If I believe I'm a millionaire, do I really become a millionaire or I have to do something about it?
Of course, yeah. You have to do something about
We're
it.
talking about positive thinking.
Yeah. I mean, that also has a lot of power. Like, if you they put in a belief in you, you work towards it. It actually, you might get the same results. Like,
Might.
I mean, you will. Like, for example, yeah, you might actually. Not 100% true. Yeah, you might.
Scriptures are 100% true. That is proved by... Sorry, we finished this part. Why the scriptures are right? Or what is the validity of scriptures? Number one, because it's an instruction manual. It has to work for each and every living entity. That's why I'm calling it a manual. Yeah. The second proof of validity of scriptures, you just push the door. The second proof of validity of scriptures is that each and every sentence in the scripture is like an axiom. You know what's an axiom? A-X-I-O-M. It's an axiomatic truth. Axiom means a certain statement which doesn't really have a proof, but you have to try it. When you try it, it works. For example, the axiom in geometry we have, I think it's written here. Definition of a point. A point is a circle with radius 0. And we have some students at the point. Is there something called radius 0? Can you draw radius 0? Radius 0 doesn't exist. But if you try to draw it, you'll understand what a point is. Okay? Each and every sentence in the Vedic manuals is like an axiomatic truth. You have to try to believe it. The proof of the pudding is in
Tasting.
yeah, you taste it. I can describe it how much you want. But unless you don't do it yourself, you're not going to understand. So self-evident theory which requires no proof. In fact, the Vedas actually challenge you with a sentence that if, this is written in the Vedas, if any part of the Veda is proved wrong, incomplete or contradictory, then one can reject the entire body of Vedic knowledge.
Vedas, you mean that four Vedas?
The four Vedas. Some other regular. If any sentence, now this is the authority of a manual. If you prove anything wrong, you can reject the entire Veda. And every sentence, right now it might not make sense to you. Like for example, when they say cow dung is pure, you might imagine that how can a dung of an animal be pure? Right? Yeah, you might just imagine, but actually cow dung has been scientifically tested to have what properties? Fertilizer, anti-repellent properties. It's actually proved to be right. So when we see in villages putting them on walls, we're wondering, what are they doing? But it's scientific. Scientific proof. It's proved that cow dung is a purifying agent. Apparently when it's given in the Vedas, it seems like blind faith. But when actually scientists prove it, then we want to believe it. Okay, chalo, ho sakta hai. But every sentence of the Vedas are like that. As I told you before also, till the 15th century, I made the point about cow dung. Till the 15th century, the modern scientists believed that the earth was flat. But what is geography called in Vedic knowledge? Bhugol Shastra. Shastra is science. What is Bhugol? Bhu is the earth, Gol is round. The Vedas always said that this earth is a globe. Is there any change in their theory yet? It was not then, it is not now. And the theories in our science have been changing since time immemorial. Plants have life. This is what Vedas said, and only recently, this Bose, the Bose laboratory. Who is that guy, Bose? I can't remember. His surname was B-O-S-E, Bose. He much recently proved that plants actually have life. He took some plants and he dipped them in, this experiment he did? He dipped it in acid and actually the plants shook, and that was his theory, his aim, his apparatus that he used. And he proved that plants actually have life. They have feelings, they can feel, they can live, they can die. They have life. And the Vedas have always been saying this. Is it anything new? The study of embryology, which is still, scientists are still working on. What the child feels in the mother's womb. Right at the age of 2 months in the womb, 3 months in the womb, 4 months in the womb. Exactly everything is given in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And still scientists don't know what are the feelings of. In fact, even feelings are something that, a lot of scientific studies still going on. At the most we have a psychologist. At the most they can prove is chemicals are affecting, some reactions that we make. Some emotions they can affect. But why emotions are existing? What is this mind? What is this intelligence? Whatever you are, what is this? Whatever scientists are creating is called artificial intelligence. Why? Why is it not called natural intelligence? Why? Because it's not real intelligence. It's typographed. Means it can react only towards certain extent. Means even that stimulus is all typed, fed into it. It's a program. How does a human being work? Does it work I wish, but it doesn't work. Especially with children, you could just program them and make them function the way you want. Doesn't work. Even the scientists are bewildered at that. They don't know how this works. But the Vedas will give you proper theories. Scientific theories are always changing. Even this, the atomic theory.
Yeah.
He said that atom is the smallest.
Smallest. After that, Rutherford came, and then so many theories came, which is smallest. The Vedas give you perfect knowledge of this entire breakup of the atom. Yeah, it's already there. All these people have been going. 19th century there was Dalton, 20th century there was Rutherford, Schrodinger was the most recent person to work on atomic energy. Vedic truths never change. Modern man today is turning to yoga. Kab se bol rahe Vedas, the yoga works. Now we are realizing it. Meditation, Vastu Shastra, astronomy, metallurgy. In fact, in scriptures, there's actually a particular chemical combination given to produce gold. Wish I can get it. Also, so all these axiomatic truths is the second proof for validity of scriptures. Try to prove one sentence wrong in the scriptures. One sentence, pura Vedas bhi nahi keh rahe. One sentence. That shows the authority of the Vedas. That's the perfect knowledge you can get about God. P stands for predictions. M stands for manual. How do you know a manual works? The instructions have to work for me. A, axiomatic truths. P is for the astonishing predictions. Apparently, modern science says that Vedas have been written 5,000 years back. Okay, chalo, let's take that maxim. Let's take it as a maxim. If the Vedas were written by Vedyas 5,000 years back, he wrote certain predictions in it. Of Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, his prediction was written in 11th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, verse number 32. He predicted the advent of Lord Chaitanya. The advent of Lord Chaitanya was only 500 years back. And he apparently wrote it 4,500 years before. So is what he wrote true? You have Lord Chaitanya in your textbooks? The place of his birth, the name of his parents, exactly the activities that he is going to perform. Everything written down. You can check. Prediction of Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha came 2,500 years after the Vedas were written. The name of his parents, the place of his birth, his activities.
Okay, what do we mean by scriptures? What are the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas?
Scriptures. Vedas have many parts. There are 108 Upanishads, there are 18 Puranas, and then there are, in 18 Puranas there is Srimad Bhagavatam. In 108 scriptures, the first scripture is, and then there's Mahabharata and there's Ramayana. This is the entire Vedas.
So by scriptures we mean all of that.
All of that. Yeah, so in certain parts and places, these predictions have been made.
Yeah.
Like of Buddha. This again is Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto. Nirvana.
That's what Buddhism teaches.
Did he say there's no God?
Yeah, that's what they think. That's what I'm asking why.
He never said there's no God.
So I wanted to.
It's actually, he never said there was no God.
So they believe that they don't believe in
Idol worship.
I was just not that there is no God, but idol
Idol
worship.
worship.
So it's one and the
That's
same.
exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
Is
it's
that
different.
what is the form
This
of
now,
God?
it will be actually there in day 3. Next class when we meet, we'll be having exactly why there are different scriptures in this world. Today we talk about scriptures being authentic what do you say, sources for knowledge of God. You came a little late, so we're at that point. But can you come next Wednesday? I'll give you an answer for that. Yeah. Astonishing predictions. Chanakya. We all know Chanakya. He's also been predicted in 12th canto Srimad Bhagavatam. King Ashoka. I'm sure everyone knows Ashoka. So it's
Are
in the
you
movie.
serious?
Yeah.
Even he was predicted.
Even he was predicted.
Where was he predicted? 12th canto.
Srimad Bhagavatam 12th canto, 1st chapter, verse number 12. Yeah. Jesus Christ, predicted in Bhavishya Puran. Place of his birth, his name, his activities. Atharva Ved. Shukta is the exact verse, 127. Yeah. Prophet Muhammad, again in Bhavishya Puran. So do we agree that scriptures can be taken as proper sources for knowledge about God or about that key to search for happiness? So next class when we'll start from this point and we'll take up the question. In fact, the very first part of the session of day 3 is why so many scriptures? Why so much confusion? Why so many wars? Based on that. So how to acquire knowledge? Quick recap I'll do. Maybe it might not make sense to the others who just entered. Why do we believe in God? Does? Yeah. Why do people not believe in God? Because there's no proof. There is proof. That is, see Lord. Creation implies a creator. Lawmakers and law enforcers show that there is a lawmaker. OR stands for organization and order. D is for demands and urges or design. The beautiful infrastructure that is right in front of us. That is the proof for God exists. How do we see Him? By cause and effect I can understand, see God's hands behind it, His super intelligence behind it, and by service also it is possible that we'll be able to see God. Yeah. Is there a clear-cut definition of God? Do you remember? 5. S stands for Supreme Source. P stands for Supreme Proprietor, so mother-in-law. Yeah. I stands for Supremely Independent. C stands for Supreme Controller. E stands for Supreme Enjoyer. So now if we know anyone says I am God, you have to say, are you spice? Yeah. And then how to get perfect knowledge of God? Does Pratyaksh Praman work? Not always. Because of IICC, imperfect senses and a tendency to be illusion, cheating propensity, and we can also commit mistakes. So this doesn't work. Anuman Praman, why it doesn't work? It's only theory, we can only guess. It's trial and error. It's difficult. It will take a lot of time. Shabda Praman, approach and authority. Just any authority? No, which have to be manuals. There has to be proper instructions which work. They have to be axiomatic truths. Scriptures are full of axiomatic truths and predictions. This authority of the scriptures have given astonishing predictions which have been proven by modern science.